Hello everyone, Alien Volt here, and I am playing Assassin's Creed Liberation. Now, Liberation was actually released as a PlayStation Vita exclusive title for just over a year until it was released on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and Windows as an HD version in 2014. Now, although this title is not a direct sequel to Assassin's Creed Revelations, it is a title that runs alongside or during the same time period as Assassin's Creed 3, and in fact, when it was released on PlayStation Vita, it was actually titled Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. In Liberation, you will play as Aveline, and she is technically the first female assassin character for a major release. Now, although this was an exclusive release originally, it has since, like I said, been released to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Now, as the title suggests, this is an HD version in comparison to the PlayStation Vita version that was originally released, which looked a little bit more cartoonish. But if you're playing this with the HD textures enabled, it does look pretty decent. Now, it doesn't quite look as good as its big brother Assassin's Creed 3, but it doesn't look bad. The combat's pretty fluid. It's what you would come to expect from any of the Assassin's Creed titles prior to Unity. It does have some differences though. When you're searching, you're required to use your mouse instead of your use button, which was a little different. But one of the things I really liked about this game was it introduced some new weaponry, like the whip, for instance. That not only that you can use to get to areas you normally couldn't get to, but it's a very effective tool in combat. Now, Liberation takes place in Louisiana, and New Orleans specifically, and the Louisiana Bayou, at least the surrounding area. You will also go to Mexico, as well as spend a little bit of time in New York. Now, Aveline is half French and half African. Her father was a French, I guess, noble in New Orleans, and her mother was a servant of his. I don't know if she was actually technically a slave or whether she was just kind of like a servant. But either way, they fell in love and little Aveline occurred. But due to unforeseen circumstances, her mother had to flee early on in the game, and she's raised by her father and stepmother. Now, another really cool feature about this game is that Aveline has 3 different personalities that you have to use in the game. Now, you actually unlock these dressing rooms all over the place, and her 3 personalities are that of a lady, which she represents while she's going through New Orleans as well as around her father. In this personality, she has very limited weapons. She gets a small, like, Dillinger. She gets an umbrella that shoots out darts and smoke grenades, and then pretty much basically the assassin's blades. But she can also seduce people, which is very, very handy. The next personality is a slave, and she gets a little bit more weapons here. She actually gets a hatchet as well as the whip, and the whip is something new to the game, and it's really, really good. It's kind of like the ropes that Connor uses, but definitely different. You don't ever run out of them, and it's a little bit more useful. And the last personality is, of course, the assassin personality, and this is, of course, what we're used to seeing in Assassin's Creed games solely. So it was kind of unique to see the other 2 personalities, or, you know, one of herself, another of disguise, and then the assassin personality as well. But of course, the assassin personality, you get everything with the that you get with the previous two personalities, as well as two-handed weapon, basically a strong weapon. Now the weapons you can unlock through the game range from hatchets and small swords, which are your small weapons, to your normal weapons, which are basically your one and two-handed weapons, and they're your larger swords and axes. I'm personally not a fan of the larger weapons as much, although they do quite a bit of damage and they're useful against certain enemies. I think they're more clumsy, and one of the things I really dislike about it is that if you try to use your special ability, like throw down a grenade, a lot of times they'll throw the weapon at the target and then you drop the weapon and have to re-pick it back up. Now the pistols are cool, they give you a pretty decent variety, but as an assassin most of the time you're trying to stay quiet and not draw attention to yourself, so you're not going to use them as much. Now there's also the traditional upgrades for all of your pouches, which can get very expensive as well. But you know, it's something you have to have and accumulate. The only thing is you don't really get to craft them in this game. You have to actually purchase them. Now you can also unlock several different uniforms or outfits for your three personalities. Some of them you don't get till the end of the game, or near the end of the game, which is unfortunate because they're some of the better looking ones. And unlike Black Flag or even Rogue or Unity, there's really not much to do once you beat this game and you know, collect all the collectibles. You're pretty much just left with a game that you either replay or you uninstall it and put it away. Now you can even get hats. Now most of her assassin outfits you'll wear a hat, but you can buy the cowl, which is pretty cool. But like I said, a lot of things in this game are very expensive. You can't craft anything, so you will need to get started on the shipping industry really quick. As soon as you get introduced to that, I would recommend buying a ship or two and start investing in sending off missions. Now the ships can actually be very, very good at producing money, and you can almost double your money if you do it right each time you send them out, and it'll take about 30 to 40 minutes to get them back. Now there was one thing that I really wasn't too fond of about this game, and that was the fact that your personalities had different class quests basically. You had to be in that personality to actually pick up and see the quest. For instance, if you wanted to do the detective series of side quests, you had to be in the slave personality. If you wanted to collect the assassin coins, you had to be in the assassin personality. If you wanted to collect the jewels, you had to be in the lady personality. And it's those little things like that that ended up, if you miss something, you might be running the maps in a grid several times to actually find the locations. Other than that, the game was quite enjoyable. The story wasn't bad at all. It was a little short. There were only 9 sequences, and I think I had about maybe 28 hours in the game to unlock everything, which wasn't bad. Now if you're looking for a next generation game to play like Syndicate or Unity, I would recommend passing this up, because this is definitely last generation. But if you're just an Assassin's Creed fan and you're looking for something else to play and you haven't played this yet, I recommend it. It's not a bad play. But I'm going to end this review here. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.